honor her. Because in the midst of when I was out there in the hole, with no ladder to climb up out of, he sent her. And that's Madeline Ortiz. So once again, it's not every day that you be in the midst of some heroes, that you can give them their props. Tonight, we're gonna honor our heroes. Continue to keep winning for the people who does not have a voice, who does not have a way to go. Continue to lay the pathway. Set the directions for the people, Dr. Brooks. They need you. Continue to lean on them when we need all of y'all. Sherry Jackson, coming through the midst of the storms, seeing the many things that we didn't see. I'm ever so grateful to be here tonight. Y'all all look good. I'm tired. Glad it's over. But you know what? Wouldn't change nothing in this world to be where I am tonight. Sit back and relax. And to all the celebrants, congratulations.
Unhook all of this business here. Good evening. I am so happy to be here. I'm honored to stand in the midst of so many recovering people and people of other artists, these dignitaries that they're, honoring this evening. I'm going to sing a song for you. As the program says, my name is Richard Perkins. Let me introduce myself. I am a college graduate from Prairie View A&M University. I'm an opera singer in retirement by trade. We've had the opportunity to ingratiate a lot of audiences by singing. I love your voice, young man, and our song that we're going to sing this evening is My God is a Rock.
All right.
And I'm going to sing that in dedication to those unsung heroes that's here this evening. But most of all, one of our fallen soldiers who died a couple of weeks ago. Some of you may have known the Reverend Fred L. Mitchell. He was really instrumental in working with recovery there in the Golden Triangle. And he passed away a couple of weeks ago. So we want to dedicate this particular song to you unsung heroes and in memory of Reverend Fred L. Mitchell. My God is a rock in a weary land in a weary land. My God is a rock in a weary land, shelter in a time of storm. Oh, stop, let me tell you about the chapter 1, when the Lord God's work had just begun. Oh, stop, let me tell you about the chapter 2, when the Lord God written his Bible through. Oh, stop, let me tell you about the chapter 3, how the Lord God died on Calvary, and my God is a rock in a weary land, weary land, in a weary land. My God is a rock in a weary land, and a shelter in a time of storm. Now stop, let me tell you about the chapter 4, how he went in Jerusalem and visit the poor. Oh, stop and let me tell you about the chapter 5, how the Lord God brought the alive. Oh, stop, let me tell you about the chapter 6. He went in Jerusalem and healed the sick. Yes, our God is a rock in a weary land. Oh, a weary land, in a weary land. Our God is a rock in a weary land, and a chapter in a silent storm. Oh, stop, let me tell you about the chapter 7. How the Lord God died and went to heaven. Oh, stop, let me tell you about the chapter 8. Oh, John seen him standing at the golden gate. Oh, stop, let me tell you about the chapter 9. How the Lord God turned the water to wine. Oh, stop, let me tell you about the chapter 10. How John seen him coming in the world again. 'Cause my God is a rock in a weary land. He's a welter in a time of storm. Our God is a rock. Your God is a rock. My God is a rock. Our God is a rock. Our God is a rock. Our God is a rock. My 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 God is a rock. Our God is a rock. Our God is a rock.
Wow. Good evening again. Good evening. My name is Sharon. I'm a person in long-term recovery. Okay. Representative Madden and his wife Barbara have been married 47 years. They are the proud parents of 3 children, Jerry, Stephanie, and Christina. They also have 6 grandchildren. Upon graduation from West Point with a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, Jerry spent 6 years in the Army, 1 in Vietnam and 2 in Jeremy, before bringing his family to Richardson, Texas in 1971. I want you to know I know this by heart, but I can't do it right now. As a 41-year resident of Collin County, Jerry has been involved in numerous veterans and community organizations, holding positions such as president of Collin County School Board, the chairman of the Collin County Hospital Board, as well as serving on the advisory board of the Plano Chamber of Commerce. He was instrumental in launching the Collin County Caring for Children program, a joint venture between Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas and the private sector. Dedicated to the Republican philosophy, Jerry was elected chairman in his local neighborhood in 1974 and chairman of the Republican Party of Collin County in 1984. First elected to the Texas legislature in November of 1992, and now in his 10th term, Madden is chairman of the House Committee on Corrections, as well as a member of the Select Committee on Election Contests, the Redistricting Committee, and the Judiciary and Civil Jurisprudence Committee. Different legislative initiatives for which he has been commended range from the highly successful 2007 criminal justice system reforms, which sought to divert individuals from prisons through mental health and substance abuse programs, provide more opportunities in prison for rehabilitation, and properly utilize probation and parole mechanisms to avoid greater costs if new prisons were built. He has been honored for his work in a variety of policy areas by organizations including Texas Criminal Justice Coalition, the Texas Correction Association, and Texas Access to Justice Commission Foundation. In wake of the 2007 legislative session, Representative Madden was designated by Texas Monthly as one of its 10 best legislators. While this honor is certainly notable, Representative Madden was the first recipient of the 2007 Carmen Miller Michael Mental Health Advocate Prism Award, was recognized as University of Texas recognized as University of Texas at Dallas designated alumnus in 2009, was named to Board of Directors of the Council of State Governments Justice Center in April of 2009, and served from 2009 to 2010 as chairman of the Law and Criminal Justice Committee formed by the National Council of State Legislators. In June of 2010, Representative Madden was appointed on the Texas State Council for Interstate Adult Offender Supervision, and in July of 2010 was named co-chair of the National Conference of State Legislators Sentencing and Corrections Work Group. On November 18, 2010, Representative Madden was honored at a special ceremony in Washington, D.C. as a consequence of being named one of Governing Magazine's 2010 Public Officials of the Year, an award he shared with Senator Whitmire and 6 other individuals from across the country. On August 5, 2011, the American Legislative Exchange Council honored Representative Madden with their Legislator of the Year Award at the organization's 38th annual meeting in New Orleans, Louisiana. He chaired ALEC's Public Safety and Elections Task Force from 2011 through April of 2012, and serves as well as the Texas Criminal Justice Integrity Unit, which is charged with exploring ways to avoid wrongful convictions. Jerry Madden continues to exhibit the commitment and drive which he first brought to the legislature, always accessible to his constituents and sensitive to the changing needs of Texas and District 67. Representative Madden seeks to promote limited government, fiscal responsibility, safe and thriving communities, and successful families and businesses. He is also an unsung hero for the Winter Circle. It is with honor and privilege that I introduce Jerry Madden, State Representative of District 67.
Yeah, sit down, everybody, please. My gosh. How did I ever get started in this stuff? Whatever got me here to do all of these things we had? Well, you know, if you know, I'm an engineer by background. My background's engineering. I was elected in 1992 to the legislature. I had spent 6 terms, 12 years, and had never done anything in corrections or criminal justice, period, ever. It was not my field. It was not something that I spent a great deal of time working on. It was, you know, it was just something that was a legislator, yeah, you heard about, and you watched, and you followed some of your friends, and that was about it. Until in January 2005, the Speaker of the House calls me into his office, looks me in the eye and says, Jerry, you're going to be chairman of corrections. And of course, what do? You do what you always would do in that case. You look at the Speaker of the House and you say, thank you, Mr. Speaker, I really appreciate the opportunity. It's a great honor. Yeah, here's an engineer who's never been on the Corrections Committee, never done a criminal justice bill in his life, and he's now chairman of the Corrections, and under my breath I'm saying, oh God, why me? What did I do to deserve this? But then I asked the Speaker what I think was the second most important question I've ever asked in my life, and I asked him, Mr. Speaker, what do you want me to do? And he gave me the 8 words that changed my life. He said, Don't build new prisons. They cost too much. All right? That's a message to an engineer, first and foremost, isn't it? It's a mission. Guys, I'm a military guy. The West Pointer in me said, that's a mission. He just gave me a task. I'm supposed to do something. Actually, it's a negative task, but it's not something I have to prevent something from happening. Well, what do you do when you get that mission? Well, you start looking around. I didn't know anything about the subject, so I started looking around for people who put together a little bit of staff that knew very little about it either. I don't have any preconceived conditions, and I have one advantage I didn't know I had at the time. I don't have a prison in Collin County, so I didn't have to worry about the local, prison that so many of my colleagues have to worry about. So what do you do? Well, I did something that probably has changed criminal justice nationally. Now, I didn't know I was doing that. I walked across the hall to the other side of the Capitol, and I saw Senator John Whitmire. And John's a different party than I am, and somewhat different philosophies than I had. I'd never done a bill with John before. I knew him, but I never, we'd never been really close. And I sat down with him because everybody told me, oh, he's the guy in the Senate, he's the guy over here in the legislature who knows everything. So I said, okay, John, I've got this task from the Speaker. What can we do? And in the next 2 hours, we meshed into what became a really, truly a team. You don't know what's happening. We didn't recognize it at the time, but we agreed on a whole lot of things that needed to be done in the criminal justice system that could keep us from building new prisons. Because, yes, they do cost too much. One of the things I always ask my audience is, well, how many of things do we have, or how much is it? How much does it cost? And the answer to my questions, by the way, guys, has always been a lot. Okay, almost always the question is a lot. So how much does it cost us in the criminal justice system each year? Well, it's about about $3 billion, a little over that. That's a lot. It's a lot of money. And this was at this stage a conservative message to a conservative Republican telling me don't spend money. I quickly learned, however, that it dealt with also changing lives, because you can't do the things that we were asked to do without the people that are like in this room tonight who are changing lives, because we can make decisions at what amounts to the really high level, but we got to have people doing it day by day by day. And we were fortunate. We quickly found out, John and I did, in starting to work with the stuff, that we found a group out there. It was a probation departments, both the state agency, or CJADs, and also the local county people. They gave us some ideas that were actually very, very progressive in their ideas, and thinking of how do we divert people from coming to prison. And John had done a lot of work on this. He'd done a lot of the criminal justice changes that sent a lot of people to prison in the 1990s. I tell him that all the time. But he had done a lot of changes in our criminal codes and built a lot of prisons in that time, and I voted for him. But how do we change that? How do we change that mentality was the message that we started working on. And we pulled in some wonderful people. We pulled in some judges who came in and told us how wonderful things like drug courts and specialty courts were doing. And we put together a probation bill, which John passed in the Senate. The Senate, one senator passes their bill, they all vote unanimously for it. House has to then fix it. We bring it over to us. We did a lot of things to it, passed it out of the House, and the governor vetoed it. It's the best thing that ever happened to us. Because it required us to go back and do all the other things that we really started to do at that stage to truly make a difference in our criminal justice system in Texas. Because what state is now recognized today as being the leader nationally in programmatic things and programmatic changes, and in truly making a difference in the direction of the criminal justice system? And I will tell you that it's Texas. If you ask every state out there, it's Texas that's doing that. Not because we've made ourselves any less safe. Our crime rates are dropping. They've been dropping for a long time. They're continuing to drop. We're safer in our community. But we started looking at that stage for, well, what's working? And actually, I put together 3 committees. I found that there was a great group of think tanks in Texas, both liberal and conservative. And when they came in and talked about criminal justice, you know what they said? Almost the same thing. Can you imagine conservatives and liberals getting up on a subject and saying almost the same thing? Now you throw out the extremes on the far edges of either of them, and they were identical. So I put them in and I said, okay, you guys sit down with this probation bill that we had, and you come back in with the things that we can support and get the governor's support in 2007. And then I put together a committee of staffers, and I said to them, okay, we know we got some things in our prison system, and Madeline's a great example. We had people in there who would tell us they had some really good programs. They were great programs, and I was listening to DAs, I was listening to parole division and parole board people and everybody else saying, but they have to wait. They have to sit and wait for these programs, or it takes too long to get them into substance abuse. It takes them 6 months to get there. We said, why? He said they don't have enough programs. Okay, well, how much does it cost you to keep one person in prison for 1 day? A lot. A lot. $50. But if you keep thousands, how much? If I keep 1,000 people an extra day, that's $50,000. That's a lot. When I keep 1,000 people 8 months longer than they need to be because they've been given parole, but they have to wait for a program to start, how much does that cost us? A lot. How many people do I have in prisons in Texas? A lot. We had about 150,000, dirty little trick. When we did our stuff, we added short-term substance abuse beds, and we actually upped the population a little bit by doing that. But requiring people with addictions to have treatment. What a novel idea. We were having people going through the prisons that weren't getting treatment. We had alcoholics in the prisons that weren't getting alcoholic treatment. That wasn't too bright. That's what's called stupid. Okay? If you had somebody that's a captive audience, right? How many of you guys that were in prison were going any place that day? The answer was not a lot. Okay? All right. So if you were an alcoholic and were there, why don't we start alcoholic treatment programs? All right. Why don't we take these specialty courts that are out there and encourage them, give them the funding that's necessary? Well, a great thing happened in 2007. Here comes the governor's budget and the requirement, and they got this great chart that our legislative budget people have put out that said, by the year 2012, you're going to have 17,700 more prisoners in Texas than you got today. Remember my mission? Don't build new prisons. They cost too much. How much would it cost us to imprison 17,700 more people? A whole lot. How much would it have cost us to build just the prisons that we'd have had to build? About $2 billion. Anybody want to volunteer $2 billion out of their budget? Think we could use it better? That was our message to them. Well, you can use the money a lot better than we have by putting up concrete. How much does it cost to imprison 17,700 people a day in Texas? Well, that's about a little under $1 million a day. That's a lot of money, guys. We didn't need to do that. Whitmire and I quickly came to the conclusion this was our golden opportunity, because we had also one other group. We put together a third group that was basically to look at, well, if we put programs into place, what's going to happen to the prison population? Because Texas had data. We had information. And we put that data together. And in putting that together, it came up with predictions that if we did substance abuse treatment, and if we gave money to help with the mental illness issues within the state, and if we did additional money to do treatment for people who are alcoholics, and we gave intermediate sanctions to the people on parole and probation, so that if somebody did a technical violation, they didn't send them back to prison for 5 years, but they kept them for a month or two in their facility, and hopefully got their lives straightened away. How much does that do? And the answer is it does a whole lot. A whole lot. And we came in with that budget cycle and with our ideas, and lo and behold, here comes back this population thing and the cost for us to put those additional programs in, and for us to man them and get them working and it was going to cost us about $240 million. But guess what? They had in their budget, they had 3 new prisons at $530 million. What a great target that was. We said, you don't need to spend $530 million. You give us 230 or 240, and we'll make it so that you don't have to build another one for a long time. And here's the data and what it shows, because our data came back. And it showed that if we did what we had and said we were going to do, yeah, we're going to have that slight spike because we're going to build substance abuse treatment facilities and treat people with drug treatment, for drug treatment programs, give the local DAs and others the resources they needed to keep people from being sent to prison for a long term, but in fact give them the drug treatment programs they needed. And lo and behold, that chart said that we were going to level the prison population off and would not have to build another prison for another 5 years if we did that. We convinced both the political parties, first of all. We brought them all in. And it's amazing, when you brought the Republican Party, you would think, gee, those guys that want to spend all your money and, lock everybody up. They didn't. When they came in, we started talking about addiction problems, and we started talking about the people in their families or the people in their church who had problems that they knew. And guess what? Every one of them knew some of those people. And we asked them the question, were those really bad guys that we were really afraid of, or were they the people that did some really dumb things and really stupid things that got themselves in trouble? And the answer was, even to them, was, you know what, you're right. Most of those people, there's some really bad ones, guys. There's some really bad people that we got to keep for a long time in TDCJ to make us all safe. But there's a lot of guys and a lot of gals that are there that have done really dumb things, that have changed their lives and gone and made differences in their lives and changed how they thought and changed how they acted and maybe found God or found what. And I've got some wonderful friends that are psychiatrists and some wonderful friends in prison ministries. And you know what? I've always encouraged them to say, go do your thing. Because I, as the legislator, didn't care whether it was God that reached them or the psychiatrist that reached them. It didn't matter as long as they were reached. Okay? As long as they were reached, it changed. Because if they were a different person, praise God, they were a different person. And they would all work, and I reinforced all of them. Gave them all some support. Well, we voted on this in 2007, convinced all our budgeteers that this was a great idea, convinced the governor, who had vetoed this before. When he got up to give his State of the State speech, he was supposed to say that we need to build 3 new prisons. And Whitmire and I had been in his office the day before and had given him what we had and what our numbers would do and why we were right and the builders were wrong. And to his credit, he changed his speech so that when he went out there, he said, we've got to take those people that are low-level nonviolent offenders and we've got to find addiction programs for them. And we've got to do things differently than we have to put them in prison. And he did not go out and say we needed to build more prisons, but he did enforce the ideas that John and I were putting forward, and that's what we passed in the year 2007. Well, lo and behold, come up the next session, and we've got a prison population that's stabilized. It hasn't gone up. It's done what we said it was going to do. You know what? My colleagues all thought that was wonderful. They didn't have to spend any more money on it. And we were right. And come 2011, because in 2009 we'd done a sunset bill, and we said, look at closing a prison. And in 2011, Sugar Land is closed. Sugar Land was the first prison in Texas that we've closed. And by the way, just as for your information, we're down about 3,500 prisoners from where we were a year ago in the prison section. About 3,500, last number. Yeah, and by the way, it changes every day. We get about 250 new visitors every day, and we have about 72,000 that leave every year. Okay, and we have about 72,000 that come in every year. But the reality is, we have a reduced population. A reduced population that's enough. If you figure out that if I have 111 prisons, I was down from 112. Down to 111, that we're going to be in a position where we probably will not need all 111 of those prisons this next cycle. And I suspect you'll see my colleagues, since I'm not running again for the legislature, but I suspect my colleagues will like an opportunity to save a few more millions of dollars, hundreds of millions probably, by closing 2 or so units. It wouldn't surprise me at all that Texas will actually close additional prisons. It's easier for us to do it than it is for a lot of other states. We do it. And we did the same thing in juvenile justice, by the way. Same thing when all this was happening. We had this little thing at the Texas Youth Commission where the warden was raping kids in his facility. And so we had to put them under conservatorship and change the whole youth system. So we changed juvenile justice in our state. But